Guy Madison names the gay actors of old Hollywood. He dated in secret. Guy Madison was born Robert Ozell Mosley on January 19, 1922 in Kern County, California. Raised during the Great Depression, Madison came from humble beginnings. His early life was grounded in small-town values, and he initially had no aspirations of becoming an actor. After graduating from Bakersfield College, he studied animal husbandry with the intent of pursuing a career in agriculture, a plan soon altered by the onset of World War II. Madison enlisted in the United States Navy during the war and served honorably as a Navy radio operator in the Pacific. His military service shaped much of his character, instilling discipline, patriotism, and humility, traits that audiences would come to associate with many of the roles he later played. It was during a short leave in Hollywood in 1940 for that Madison's life took a fateful turn. He was discovered by talent agent Henry Wilson, who recognized his striking appearance and believed he had the makings of a movie star. Madison's first screen appearance came that same year with a small, uncredited role in the David O. Selnick-produced romantic drama Since You Went Away, where he portrayed a clean-cut soldier, a casting that resonated with the wartime American public. Though he had little acting experience, Madison's debut sparked an overwhelming fan response, and Hollywood quickly took notice. Selnick signed him to a contract, and he was soon groomed for stardom. Throughout the late 1940s, Madison appeared in a series of films that capitalized on his all-American image, including Till the End of Time, 1946, which starred him alongside Robert Mitchum, and Honeymoon, 1947. Though critics initially gave him mixed reviews due to his limited acting background, Madison's natural charisma and sincere performances gradually won over audiences. His greatest success came with his starring role as the title character in the hit television and radio series The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, which aired from 1951 to 1958. The show, a Western inspired by the real-life frontier marshal, solidified Madison's place as a pop culture icon. Dressed in cowboy attire with his sidekick Jingles, played by Andy Devine, Madison brought Wild Bill Hickok to life with a blend of stoic heroism and approachable warmth. The series reached millions of viewers and was one of the earliest shows to be simultaneously broadcast on both television and radio. Children admired him, adults respected him, and his portrayal contributed to the golden age of Westerns in American media. His face graced lunchboxes, comic books, and even cereal boxes, and he regularly appeared at rodeos and public events, always greeting fans with kindness and humility. Despite his success on television, Madison continued to act in feature films throughout the 1950s and 1960s. He appeared in numerous westerns and action-adventure films, including The Charge at Feather River, 1953, which became notable for its innovative use of 3D sound effects. As the western genre began to knee in popularity, Madison shifted much of his career overseas, especially to Italy, where he starred in a number of spaghetti westerns and war films during the 1960s. These European productions kept his career vibrant, and he became a familiar face to international audiences. Though these films were sometimes lower budget, Madison always approached his roles with professionalism and integrity. As the years passed, Madison gradually stepped back from the spotlight. He retired from acting in the late 1970s, but remained a cherished figure at classic film festivals and Western conventions, where fans of all ages would gather to celebrate the legacy of Wild Bill Hickok and the golden era of Westerns. In 1996, Madison was awarded a Golden Boot Award for his contributions to Western films and television, an acknowledgment of his enduring impact on the genre. In 1949, at the height of his Hollywood fame, Guy Madison married actress Gail Russell, a fellow star who had captivated audiences with her haunting beauty and emotionally charged performances in films such as The Uninvited, 1944, and Angel and the Bad Man, 1947. Their union was seen as a glamorous match in the eyes of the public, as both were young, attractive, and rapidly rising in their respective careers. However, behind the scenes, their relationship was fraught with emotional challenges. Russell, a deeply sensitive and introverted woman, struggled with intense social anxiety and alcoholism, a condition that was exacerbated by the pressures of Hollywood life. Madison, though supportive at first, found himself unable to cope with the emotional toll and instability that came with his wife's inner turmoil. As Madison's own acting career continued to gain momentum, including his starring role in The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, the emotional and physical distance between the couple widened. They ultimately separated in 1953 after 4 years of marriage, and their divorce was finalized in October 1954. Despite the sad end to their union, Madison reportedly remained compassionate toward Russell and her personal struggles, though their lives would take very different paths thereafter. In a dramatic turn of events, Madison remarried shortly after finalizing his divorce from Russell. In late October 1954, he wed actress Sheila Connolly in a civil ceremony held in Juarez, Mexico, a popular destination for quick marriages and divorces at the time. Connolly, known for her roles in 1950s westerns and dramas, shared Madison's appreciation for the outdoors and for family life, and their relationship initially seemed stable and loving. The couple settled into domestic life and went on to have 3 daughters, Bridget, Erin, and Dolly. Madison, who had grown up in a large family himself, reportedly took great pride in fatherhood and tried to balance his Hollywood career with time spent with his children. However, the strains of life in the entertainment industry, combined with Madison's frequent travel for film and television work both in the United States and Europe, began to take a toll on their marriage. By November 1960, the couple had separated and their divorce was finalized in April 1963. Despite the dissolution of their marriage, Madison maintained a cordial relationship with Connolly and was actively involved in the lives of their daughters. In the years that followed, Madison became romantically involved with actress Giacola, a striking beauty of Italian and Irish descent, who had made her mark in films such as The Guns of Navarone, 1961. Their relationship, while never formalized by marriage, was described by some of their friends as intense and emotionally complex. Scala, known for her charm and vulnerability, had also faced struggles similar to those of Madison's first wife, including issues with depression and alcohol. Nevertheless, she and Madison remained close, and according to biographical sources, their bond was significant enough that before her untimely and mysterious death in 1972, Scola named Madison as the beneficiary to her portion of the Screen Actors Pension Fund. This act was seen by many as a sign of deep affection and trust, and it underscored the lasting connection they shared, even if their relationship was not a conventional one. In addition to his daughters from his marriage to Sheila Connolly, Guy Madison had a son named Robert Madison, who would go on to follow in his father's footsteps by becoming an actor. Born from a different relationship later in Madison's life, Robert was raised in Italy, where Madison spent a great deal of time during the 1960s and 1970s acting in European films, particularly in the spaghetti western genre. Robert carved out a respectable acting career of his own in Italy, appearing in television and film productions. Despite the generational and geographic distance, the bond between father and son was a meaningful one. Guy Madison reportedly offered guidance and support to Robert as he navigated the challenges of life in the entertainment industry, passing on both his professional experience and a legacy of resilience and adaptability that had defined his own career. For decades, Guy Madison was known to the public as the square-jawed, soft-spoken star of westerns and war films, most famously portraying Wild Bill Hickok in the long-running television series The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok. His chiseled good looks, quiet demeanor, and boy-next-door charm made him a heartthrob of the 1940s and 50s, with legions of adoring female fans. But behind the rugged Hollywood facade and manufactured public image, Madison lived a far more complex and private reality, one shaped by the strict moral codes of the studio system and the ever-present threat of exposure in an era deeply intolerant of homosexuality. In a posthumously published memoir compiled from interviews and personal letters, Madison reveals the hidden chapters of his life, including deeply personal and heartfelt accounts of the romantic relationships he shared with several fellow actors, many of whom were also closeted and bound by the same harsh constraints. For the first time, names and faces from Hollywood's golden age are unmasked, not in scandal, but in quiet dignity, as men who loved and lived in secret, fearing professional ruin in a time when a whisper of homosexuality could end a career. Madison's reflections paint a portrait of resilience, longing, and human connection. He candidly recounts his relationship with Ramon Novarro, the silent film idol best known for his role in Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, 1925. Ramon was gentle, spiritual, and wiser than anyone gave him credit for. Madison writes, "We'd meet in quiet corners of West Hollywood or slip away to Palm Springs under the pretense of rest and relaxation. What we found there was peace, the kind of peace neither of us could claim in our public lives." He also speaks with warmth and fondness of Tyrone Power, the swashbuckling matinee idol whose bisexuality was whispered about but never confirmed during his lifetime. Madison describes Power as charismatic and conflicted, a man who carried the burden of dual expectations, studio contracts, and personal truths. We connected in the twilight of his stardom when the cameras stopped rolling and the masks came off. In those rare, quiet moments, we were just two men trying to understand what love could be when the world refused to see it. Another name Madison reveals is Anthony Perkins, the psycho star whose sexual orientation remained largely an open secret among Hollywood insiders. Their relationship, Madison notes, was fleeting but intense. Tony was young and haunted, always a little unsure of how much he could reveal, even to someone who understood the stakes, Madison recalls. We shared a few passionate months, tangled in both excitement and anxiety. He always seemed to be looking over his shoulder, and for good reason. Perhaps most poignantly, Madison recounts his bond with Rock Hudson, whose 1985 AIDS-related death marked a seismic shift in public discourse about homosexuality in Hollywood. Madison describes their relationship as equal parts joy and sorrow. Rock had the smile of a golden boy and the soul of a man who had to break himself into pieces to survive. Our time together was stolen, just weekends in Big Bear or quiet dinners in his canyon hideaway. But even stolen moments can be timeless. Throughout his writings, Madison is careful not to sensationalize. His tone is reflective, reverent, and filled with a compassion born of shared experience. These weren't just names or trysts. They were meaningful connections in a world that often denied their very possibility. "We didn't date in the way people think of dating now," he explains. "It was furtive, coded, cautious, but it was real. We laughed, we held each other, we watched the sunrise, and talked about the lives we wished we could have lived out in the open." The memoir, aside from its revelatory nature, also sheds light on the toll that secrecy and fear took on the emotional well-being of gay men in mid-century Hollywood. Madison discusses the anxiety of studio contracts with morality clauses, the ever-present threat of tabloid exposure, and the psychological weight of constantly hiding one's identity. "There were times I thought I might go mad from pretending," he confesses. "Every interview, every photo op with a female co-star, it was all an act. But the real performance was never on screen. It was in daily life." Yet Madison doesn't dwell solely in the shadows. He also celebrates the quiet triumphs, the coded love letters, the furtive glances across sound stages, the comfort of a hand held under a restaurant table. "We carved out happiness where we could," he writes, "in a world that tried to deny us love. We found it anyway." Guy Madison's decision to tell his truth, even posthumously, casts new light on the stories of many actors whose names remain buried in coded biographies and sanitized studio histories. His memoir not only reclaims his personal truth, but contributes to the broader effort to honor the lives of LGBTQ+ individuals who shaped and were shaped by Hollywood's golden age. Following his retirement from a long and successful career in film and television, Guy Madison chose to settle in the quiet and picturesque Marengo Valley. Located in Southern California's high desert, known for its scenic beauty, panoramic mountain views, and peaceful atmosphere, the Marengo Valley provided an ideal retreat for Madison, who had spent decades in the spotlight. There he built an expansive ranch-style home that reflected his love of the outdoors and his desire for privacy and tranquility in his later years. The property served not only as his residence, but also as a place where he could enjoy the natural surroundings, entertain close friends, and engage in leisure activities like horseback riding and gardening, pursuits that had long appealed to the actor. especially given his history in westerns and action-adventure roles. As time went on, however, Madison's health began to decline. He suffered from emphysema, a chronic and progressive lung condition often associated with smoking, which severely limited his mobility and respiratory capacity in his final years. Despite the illness, he reportedly remained as active as his condition allowed, receiving visits from friends and remaining in contact with many former colleagues and admirers who remembered him fondly for his work in classic television and cinema. Guy Madison passed away on February 6, 1996, at the age of 74. He died at the Desert Hospital Hospice in Palm Springs, California, a facility known for providing compassionate end-of-life care. His death marked the end of an era for fans who had grown up watching him on screen during the golden age of Hollywood westerns, particularly in his iconic role as